Hey guys, today I'm going to teach you how to make this really basic glove pattern. So it's just a knitted glove using worsted weight yarn and a 4.5mm knitting needle. The first thing you're going to want to do is to measure your wrist. So take your measuring tape and measure your wrist all the way around. Make sure you pull the tape pretty tight. Now this chart is going to show you how many stitches to cast on in the beginning, depending on your wrist measurement. So taking 4.5mm knitting needles, you're going to cast on the required amount of stitches. You want to make sure to use a stretchy cast on. So either use the long tail cast on or the crochet cast on, which is what I'm going to do right now, is the crochet cast on. The crochet cast on, you get 2 stitches on your hook, the slip knot, and then a looped stitch. You're going to stick your needle in between the 2 stitches, yarn over on your needle, and pull it through. Then on this needle, you're going to yarn over and pull this stitch over the yarn over. And then you're just going to repeat that same thing with the next 2 stitches. So stick it in between, yarn over, pull it through, yarn over, and pull that stitch over this one. This is going to create a really stretchy cast on so that it's stretchy enough when you pull the glove on your hand. After you have all of your stitches on your needles, we're going to join in the round. You can join in the round in your preferred method, but this is how I do it. First of all, I've cast on 1 extra stitch. So I have an extra stitch on there that I'm going to get rid of as I join in the round. This is my tail right here, and this is my working yarn right here. So I'm going to take the stitch that's connected to the tail and slip it to the needle where my working yarn is. Then I'm going to slip the stitch, the very first stitch where the working yarn is, over top the stitch that's connected to my tail, and then off the needle. Then I'm simply going to pull on the 2 ends to make it tighter. And that's how I join in the round. I'm going to place a stitch marker right after that very first stitch so that I know where the beginning of my round is. Then take your working yarn to the back and you're simply going to knit 2, purl 2 until your entire work measures 2 inches. Right now we are making the cuff and we're going to knit 2, purl 2 until this area measures 2 inches. Alright, now that we have knit 2, purl 2 for 2 inches, we are going to simply knit 3 rounds. So after you've knit 3 rounds, we're going to start on the thumb gusset. So you're going to take 2 more stitch markers and make sure they are a different color than your beginning marker. You're going to place these anywhere around your circumference and make sure there are 2 stitches in the middle. Now we knit this way. So this one is going to be marker 1 and this one is going to be marker 2. We're going to increase these thumb stitches right here until there are 12 stitches between the markers. And we're going to alternate these 2 rows. So I'm going to repeat these 2 rows 1 time just to show you what it looks like. So knit to your first marker. Now when I reference marker, I'm not talking about the beginning marker. The only markers I'm going to talk about are the 2 right here. Now slip your first marker, and in the next stitch after the marker, you're going to knit 1 front back. And in the stitch right before your next marker, you're going to knit 1 front back again. Then simply slip this second marker and knit till the end of the round. Alright, and the second row is to simply knit all of these stitches. Alright, now we have all of these stitches between our markers. And now we're going to close the thumb gap. So you're back at the beginning of your round, and just go ahead and knit straight to your first stitch marker. So once you get to this first stitch marker, go ahead and slide it off. You're not going to be using that marker anymore. And then knit the very first stitch after that marker. Now we're going to place these next stitches on a scrap piece of yarn. So take a yarn needle and thread it with just a scrap piece of yarn. And now you're going to put the next 10 stitches on the yarn needle. So just slide the stitches from the needle to the yarn. So you should have one stitch left before this marker, your second marker. And then before knitting again, we're just going to tie the scrap yarn together to make sure our stitches don't slip off. So now we have 10 stitches on our scrap yarn, or 12 if you did the large size. Now we're going to pick up our knitting again, and we're going to knit tightly into the stitch before the marker. So pull it really tight and knit. And then slide this marker off and put it to the side. And now simply knit back to the beginning of the round. And we're not going to mess with these stitches that are on this needle until the entire glove is done. So we'll come back and go do these at the end, so don't knit these anymore. And now we are just knitting all the way around in rows. So we have our glove here, and we are right here on the glove. So now we need to knit straight up. You want to knit until the knitting hits the very top of your middle finger. So see this space right here where your middle finger is? You want to knit straight until it hits there, and then we'll finish off with a knit 2, purl 2. Now that I've knit up to my finger, I am going to knit 2, purl 2 for 1 to 2 inches. On this glove, you just finish it off by knit 2, purl 2 till the glove reaches as long as you want. I did about 1.5 inches, and I'm going to do the same on this glove. So we've knit 2, purl 2 for as long as we want, and now we're going to bind off. And I'm going to do a stretchy bind off. Now we're going to finish off this thumb. So the thumb can be as long as you want. Start the thumb, take off your scrap yarn, and very carefully just pull it through your stitches. You should either have 10 or 12 stitches. Put half on one needle and half on the other. So I have 5 and 5. And now pick up 4 or 5 stitches in the back. So if you are doing the 10 stitch, you're going to pick up 4. If you have 12, pick up 5. So all of your stitches are on the needles like this. Just find a place and start knitting. I don't tie off the yarn. I weave in all the ends after I'm done. So just pull on that edge and pull on this one. And just knit in the round for as long as you want your thumb. I usually do about 5 rounds, but it's really up to you. Now what I do is I make sure to twist these stitches when I'm working. So instead of knitting like this, where it's going to leave a big hole, I'll twist it like this. See how this twists the stitch right here? Sometimes when you're working, you can still get a hole when you pick up stitches. I just fill this in afterwards with one of my ends. So just keep knitting around and around and around until you are ready to bind off. And I just use the tail of the yarn to mark the beginning of my row. Alright, after you have knit the thumb as long as you want, I just do a regular bind off on the thumb. When you're down to the last stitch, simply cut your yarn and pull through. So that's the gist of making a very basic glove. Now all you have to do is weave in all your ends and wear it. I hope you guys liked the tutorial and let me know what I should make next. Bye!